Welcome to the Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all of the money, business, and stock market tea.
Brought to you by the Curve's research team. It's the latest insights on what's happening in the stock market, companies, other money-related news so that you can stay educated and ahead of the curve.
You can thank us later for sounding smarter than those finance bros at your next dinner party.
This is a little heads up. In this episode, we will be touching on fertility challenges. If this topic is close to home, we totally understand if you need to sit this one out or proceed with care. Update on the egg freezing. So last week how I was talking about the egg freezing stuff.
Yes.
Plot twist, someone has been messaging me being like, you won't believe it, but I've been doing all this research on fertility and like the best fertility clinics in the world and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Athens in Greece apparently is like the world leading place to get your eggs frozen and for fertility. And it's
I was going to say the US.
€1,500 to €3,000 for a round of egg freezing. Like you could have a 6-week holiday in Europe and be getting your eggs frozen for less than it costs to do it over winter in New Zealand.
Are you sure they're your eggs?
Nah, that is one thing I'm not sure of. Like, I'm not sure what. I'm like, is it legit?
Yeah, and you don't want to go for the cheapest boob job, you want... You never, ever go for the cheapest option.
No, that's a good... Oh, that's such... Oh, no, you've thrown a spanner in there.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
So you reckon this is like going to get like a hair transplant, like not going to Turkey, but going to like a cheaper place and it not working out?
Oh, I'd just be so careful. Like it could totally be fine. This is coming off no research whatsoever. It's just when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And when you're injecting yourself and all of that, like just read the fine print is what I would say.
I haven't. I have not read the fine print. I haven't done any further
so
research.
Good to know.
But I thought this is, if anyone is interested, let me know. I've got screenshots from this wonderful woman who sent me all these inside scoops of these fertility groups who are like saying, like they're like, vote for the best Greek IVF clinic that you've used. And there's like most votes on this place called ARC or something. Anyway, I'm like, okay, this is a good insight.
I can just picture you. Like I could just see that I'm going to lose you for like a week and you've organised this retreat to Athens with a whole bunch of women to go there for 6 weeks.
Genius. Absolutely genius. Oh my God. Who wants to come get their eggs frozen with me?
Quite fun. Hire a house.
Oh my God. That is absolutely genius. It's like, who wants to invest in your eggs? Come on a retreat with me to Athens. If anyone's keen, can you comment on this podcast wherever you're listening? If there's a serious amount of people, maybe we'll get an even cheaper deal because there's like 30 people that want to get their eggs frozen at the same time.
Like, hey, we've got 30 people here. Can we get half price?
Yeah, 2-for-1 deal.
But that's great news. The power of community,
Oh, I'm just
Great.
like, okay, cool. I've got options here. I think it was more just like after we spoke last time and you were like, it's a money-making exercise. I was like, imagine. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced on New Zealand. I'm just not. I'm going to look into like some other regions in the world.
Like I know Amsterdam's got a really good, I think it's free, but there's like certain conditions. Don't quote me on that. The US has like one of the highest success rates.
From IVF or egg freezing?
From IVF. So there's, like if you're egg freezing, there's also the other thing you have to consider, which is kind of the second part of it.
Just had a good idea. I'm sorry. I'm being real scatterbrained. What if we did similar to like the anonymous salary spreadsheet, but we did like a giant data gathering situation on the asset class that is your eggs?
Your eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
your
want
fertility.
to make sure we want to put all our eggs in a basket.
But like, because that's a good point, right? It's like, what is the best, like, just like get people's, like, how many times did you have to do it? How much did it cost? How many eggs did you get? Like, there could be some interesting data here about like the best place to do it, the biggest success rates, the cheapest, the most expensive. Does that then quantify with like the results, blah, blah, blah. I feel like we could be onto something. There's a lot of people interested in this topic. Anyone thinks this is interesting or wants to hear more, comment wherever you're listening to this podcast. No idea is an eggy idea.
No idea
is a Fried idea.
is a cracking idea.
Every idea is a cracking idea.
Every idea is a cracking idea. Yeah.
Shit, yeah. How are you, Vic?
I'm good. I've been in Ireland.
Ireland. How was it?
I was on an island in Ireland.
Oh, that's confusing.
I know, it's so confusing. Everyone's like, why do you say Ireland weird? And I was like, well, because if I say
Sophie says it weird.
yeah, I'm just like, if I'm going to Ireland, everyone's like, which island? You know? It's like, no, I'm going to the island. Ireland.
No, you have to say Ireland. Ireland. I'm in Ireland.
Yeah.
My Irish friend says that. I'm going to Ireland. And so I just copy.
Oh, the accents.
Beautiful.
Great.
Absolutely impeccable.
But no, I had a bit of a blunder. So we were hiring a rental car.
No, you didn't have another insurance one, did you?
No. Well, no.
You didn't get it again?
No.
You should be careful because bad things happen in threes. You've done it 3 times.
I know. No, this wasn't a bad. It was just more I was like, okay, I need to book a rental car. That was my job for the trip. And I was looking at rental cars and I was like, oh, and there was on booking.com's got like a rental car part. And I was like, awesome. And then I was like, hang on. I was like, Shopback. If you book through Shopback, you can get a discount on any bookings through booking.com.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yeah. And this is not a paid ad. Like I literally was just like, oh, that's right. So I went through Shopback and I was like, yeah, save 4%. Landed, went to pick up the car and they're like, where's your driver's license? And I was like, what?
Oh, no.
I was like, I've lost my driver's license like 3 weeks ago and I've been meaning to get a new one. And I was like, no, I'm just here to pick up the car. Like just to kind of
just
ignoring what he
pretend that you can't hear.
He's like, yeah, your driver's license, please. I was like, oh, passport?
So English? Parlez en français?
I was like, oh, my passport. He's like, no, I need your driver's license. I was like, oh. Anyway, then I started getting quite shitty and I was like, where does it say you need a driver's license? You're hiring a car back, you idiot.
You've had so many angry travel moments lately.
I think I was just angry at myself. I was like, idiot, of course you need a driver's license to hire a car, but I was trying to blame it on him.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, I was like, okay, well, can you just amend the booking to my partner's name and then he can come and get the car? And they're like, no, sorry, we can't do that. You have to do a whole new booking. And I was like, oh, it's like computer says no. I'm like, come on, mate, just work with me here. Anyway, so even though I say 4%, I actually had to double pay to rent a car. So what was going to cost me about £220 costs about £440.
What? They didn't give you a refund?
Nah, because it was
what?
Like too late to cancel. If I cancelled, I got no money back.
Oh, you're kidding. No, that's just shit customer experience.
Yeah. But then we went to pay for the car, the second booking. And they're like, we need a credit card. And so I put my credit card and kept declining. And I was like, oh, weird. And they're like, how much is on there? I was like, £1,300. And he's like, oh yeah, that's not enough. I was like, sorry?
Oh, what was it like for the in case you crash it?
And I thought he was joking. I was like, he's like, no, that's not enough. You need 1,500 on there at least. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the hell, mate? Anyway, he's like, well, because you opted for no insurance, we have to take a big deposit. And so I was like, okay. I was like, I'll take insurance, which was an extra like £150 for insurance. So
you had an expensive whip for the weekend.
Yeah. And that's like, I know insurance is good, but like £150, we didn't need to use it. That was £150 extra for insurance. I don't know. I just feel like rental cars are a bit of a rort. Honestly, it really irks me.
A rort? This 59-year-old Victoria Harris. I was about to point out, I'm so proud of you for opting for the cheap option, getting 4% off a deal. That's really, you've come leaps and bounds from our Greek holiday where you almost made me spend my entire holiday budget on a convertible V-dub or whatever it was, Audi. For anyone that doesn't know the story, Vic and I were in Greece together like 3 or 4 years ago and I was earning peanuts. In fact, I was working for the Curve full time. So like you knew I was earning peanuts. And Vic was on her like finance salary. And we went to hire a car and I was like, oh, the beat up old piece of shit in the corner. And Vic's like, oh, there's like a convertible Audi.
Being like, oh, the convertible Audi.
Like quite seriously being like, oh, and I was like, are you paying the difference? Like, absolutely not. Like, we're getting this tiny thing that we're probably going to die, which we nearly did in the end. Vic drove on the wrong side of the road.
So small. We were literally sitting on top of each other.
I was actually filming at the point in which we nearly had a head-on collision. It was a lot.
But also being in Catholic country, like Ireland and Northern Ireland, very, very religious. And no, the Pope died.
No, it's just Ireland. I can't help but laugh.
Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What was it like?
I was on a call with you and you were like, oh, God, sorry, guys. The Pope just died. I was like, sorry, Sophie Hallright. At what point did you say?
I know. I'm Fact McGee these days. Don't you worry. You want to know what's going on? I'll let you know.
Fact McGee. No, I am not religious, and yeah, I was like, oh, Pope died. You know, that's big news, but not like, yeah. And then I started actually getting quite interested in it, and I was looking at like I watched Conclave, the movie, recently. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. And it's all about the Pope dying and like how they vote for the next cardinal to become Pope. And like, so I've got quite into it. And anyway, I was like, why are there I was looking at the people that are predicted to, you know, be the next Pope. And there's priests, from Congo, there's priests from Manila, there's priests from, all around Europe. And I was like, where are the women? And so I got digging and I was like, why does the Pope have to be a man? And then I started getting angry and I was like, the role has always had to be occupied by a man who's not married. Like that's the rule. He has to be a bishop, a cardinal, priest, and a woman cannot become Pope because the Catholic Church does not permit women to become priests. And I was just like, I know this is not financial news, but it was just like it played into the whole like conversation around only men can hold spiritual power as well. So it's a subtle way of like telling the world that, you know, God's leadership looks like a man and like all like I'm just like, where is the female representation, not only in, you know, politics or business, but also in religion. I don't know, it was just like another realm where women are excluded from power.
I wonder if that will change. Like, I wonder if there's a way in which that would change, or is that just like religion's just so entrenched in tradition that just would never happen?
I mean, I would love to hope one day it does, but I kind of think you're right. I think, you know, we've only come so far in politics and so far in business. I think religion is like so down the value chain in terms of women leading that. But yeah, anyway. But on to financial news. We had a really good week this week.
Did we? What happened?
Yeah, we, as in like me and you. No, we as in the collective stock market. Yeah, stock markets had a really good week this week. I say really good. It's like the first week of green we've had in a while.
Do you think we could say that the stock market has a personality disorder? You know, like it's very up and down, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, it's not the most consistent thing in the world.
Do some meditation, you know?
Yeah.
Just take a breath each morning before you open and just
regulate your nervous system, do some like cold showers, maybe do some journaling and just like get a bit more on the straight and narrow. What? Oh my God, what?
I just had it.
Absolutely mind-blowing idea. What?
You know how the stock market is essentially run by men right now. The majority of investors are still men in this world. Mm-hmm. You know, they're managing their money, whether it's, you know.
And none of them meditate or go to therapy.
Well, imagine.
Yeah. We're onto something here.
Like imagine if the majority of investors were women. We take our time, we think about ideas, we think about our investments.
We would be green and sailing.
Come on, we can do it.
Go the matriarchy.
We can make the stock market less volatile.
We can make the stock market great again. We should just start a new campaign.
Make the stock market great again.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense. How many men have you heard that are like, yeah, so I've been to therapy and they've been to one fucking therapy session. Do you know what? I actually think you're onto something here. I think the emotional irregulation of the stock market is a direct reflection of the male species.
Sorry, there's also a lot of algorithms that trade the stock market, which are computers, which will never meditate, but that's an aside.
But the computers were created by men, and the algorithms that the AI was driven by was created, you know, it all links back. And that's why Diversity, equity, inclusion, everyone. I reckon we've had some gnarly Curve Weeklies. I reckon if you've just tuned in to the Curve Weekly this week or last week, just would like to let you know we're not normally super like man-hatey, but I feel like we have been a little bit the last couple of weeks. But it has been a particularly shit time, and I feel like it's fine to vent. I had my moment last week talking about, I was listening to that episode back and I was like, I would not listen to this. This is so depressing. We'll move on. Let's move on to more important news. This is anyway, off topic.
I know. The reason the stock market has done so well this week is that Trump has come out saying that Chinese tariffs will come down substantially from the current 145%. This has kind of sparked a whole conversation of like the standoff between China and the US just has to de-escalate. It has to get softer, and so I think there's a lot of talk around it's kind of reached its peak and now it's only going to be kind of good news from here is what the investing world is really stoked about and why the stock market has gone up.
Does this mean if I wanted to take my money out to buy a house, now would not be a dire time to do that?
Well, it's still
pretty far down.
A lot, and then it's just gone at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not like it's gone back to where we were. Because there is still huge concerns about global growth and like all of that and how businesses are going to navigate this. But
right, so we're not really in the green. We're slightly in the green compared to last week.
Yes, compared to last week. Yeah, we are up compared to last week, which means more optimistic than pessimistic, essentially.
So like from before the last little while of like total all over the showness, when we were at the high or whatever, how far away from that are we now?
The high before the stock market started to fall was kind of late, like late February. And then it's still down about 13% since then.
Oh,
so
wow.
It felt about 20 and it's gone up to about 7, but it's still, pretty far away from where we were. And that's because we have realized we've got a really unpredictable leader of one of the largest economies in the world. And I think probably you need some seriously positive information or him to say goodbye.
You reckon it will be until Trump's out of power before we get back to those highs?
No, not back to those highs. I think it's more, it's hard to know, but I think until we get kind of like consistent positive news. Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be this like lingering fear that he could come out left field and say, we're going to invade New Zealand or something.
Oh my God.
I know. Imagine. Okay, we're taking a quick break from this episode to tell you all about our upcoming workshop, or maybe let's just call it a meetup. A meetup of everyone in the community that is interested in finding out what we're investing in right now and why. Because the market is basically on sale right now. Everything's trading at discounted prices, so we've been shopping. And everyone has been asking us what we're buying. So we thought, you know what? Let's hold a free workshop. So we're doing this on the 6th of May, and we had a huge turnout last time. And it was so cool to see everyone in there, answer all your questions. And we're really excited to do it again. So if you want to come along, make sure you sign up, and the link to the event is in the show notes of this podcast. Another company that has seen, a slight reversal in its falling share price is Tesla. So we all know that Elon and Trump are buddies. Elon is now, in politics, becoming Trump's right-hand man, and he's very involved in what's going on in government. And investors are getting effed off because they're like, hello, there's this company you're supposed to be CEO of that has fallen, 50% since December. Like, can you please come back and give it some of your attention because you're spread way too thin? It had a financial report last week and it was terrible, absolutely terrible. But the share price went up, and it was all because Elon was like, okay, sorry, I realize it's quite dire with Tesla. I'm going to come back and my focus is going to be on Tesla. So investors are like, thank goodness. But the result was still very, very bad.
I can't remember what conversation we had this in, and I hope it's a podcast that's come out already. But we said I feel like I backed the wrong horse
Oh, yeah.
with regards to Elon and Tesla. And just like, I know it's not as though you were investing lots, but like had little nibbles and like put little bits in. I feel like I have jumped and I'm on BYD. I feel like I'm seeing the car everywhere. I really think it's kind of like Gracie Abrams when we went to Taylor Swift, where we're like, who's this random girl? I don't know. Oh, she's quite good.
Next minute.
Now I'm obsessed, you know? Oh my God, I just love it. Oh my God, I'm like absolutely the most vanilla girl in the world. I'm obsessed. And so I think it's similar. I've done the Gracie Abrams effect has happened with BYD, and I am a fan.
Do you think Taylor Swift's a bit like Tesla?
Maybe, kind of.
But yes, I think you're right. It's like, which horse do you back? But one thing is, we've seen this before with Tesla. We've seen this before where Tesla's share price was suffering. Elon comes out, he's like, okay, my attention is going to be back on Tesla, and it did fantastically well. So investors are kind of thinking, is this going to happen again, or is there brand damage? The profits fell 70%, and it was its least profitable quarter since 2020. So in the last 5 years.
When was that? Is this the results that just came out?
Yes, the results that just came out. Yeah.
The worst in 5 years. Wow.
And yes, there's millions of cars that they've produced, and there's like, how many they produce this quarter. But when you look at Tesla, it's not really about the cars. Like, it's about AI now. The conversation has shifted. He's promised like millions and millions of autonomous Tesla vehicles hitting the road next year. And remember, when we're investing in companies, we're always looking forward, like, what does the future look for them?
Oh, so here we are all thinking about like cars and batteries and this and that. Yeah. And he's like, I don't even care about that anymore. I'm over here.
He's like, I'm thinking about putting cars on the moon, like I'm 10 steps ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's what investors wanted to hear. It's what investors were concerned about. So yeah, do you trust him? Do you not? Do you think he can turn around Tesla's share price? Do you not? That's the question you should be kind of asking yourself.
I really want to say no, but I think I say yes.
I know. I feel like he's just a wizard.
I'd like him to get out of Parliament, to be fair.
Yeah, and he actually assured investors on the call that they do after they post the financial results that, these tariffs that Trump's implementing are going to be tough, but they're in one of the best positions out of, all the auto manufacturers to navigate. They're going to be like less affected.
Did you used to be on those calls? Like, would you have been on a Tesla call?
Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you remember back in the day where I was like, you're like, yeah, I love my job because I get to talk to and listen to all these CEOs. And I was like, oh my God, I want to fall asleep. Now I'm like, I want to listen to that call. How do I get on the call?
Yeah, they have to put it out publicly. So when they put their results out, there's like, we are going to do a call at, 10 a.m. US time.
So I could have gone.
Yeah, you can listen in. Yeah. There's still transcripts and recordings and like, yeah.
I just want to hear what he sounds like. I've never even listened to an interview with him.
Yeah. You can tell his mind is just in a different
planet.
Yeah. But we actually have a deep dive on Tesla and BYD now in the club. So we released a BYD deep dive last week. So now you can go and compare both and see what everyone's investing in, which is super exciting. One other piece of news that came out, which we kind of already...
Hold on. For anyone that doesn't know, podcast show notes for the club. Sorry.
Podcast show notes. Another piece of news that came out that we kind of already knew is that the estimate for global growth, the percentage growth, has come down.
Again? I thought it was already really low.
Yeah. So it was expected to be 3.3% growth. And it's now been cut because of all these tariffs and uncertainty and everything. It's been cut to 2.8%. Which, like, this early on is kind of concerning. We haven't even felt the effects of these tariffs yet. And the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, who does these estimates, they've already cut it from 3.3 to 2.8, which might seem like a little move, but that is huge on when you're talking about like a world scale. And the main impact is China not growing as fast. That's having that impact.
What does that mean, though? Like, if we were going to extrapolate out to the people listening to this podcast who are investing in different types of assets, like, what can we take from the idea of global growth slowing down? Yeah,
I think there's kind of two things. Firstly is that stock markets around the world are a reflection of the growth in the economies that they represent. So, the NZX 50, the New Zealand stock market, is a reflection of New Zealand companies and their profits. Same with the US, same with Australia, UK. So if all of those regions and all of those companies and countries aren't growing as fast, then all of those
stock markets don't do very well.
Exactly. Yeah, they won't be doing as well. So
Right.
This is why we saw what happened over the last few weeks happen, because it was anticipating this cut in global growth. Because you're always forward looking. So that's why people are like, oh gosh, what is this going to mean for this country, for this economy, for this, globally? And that's why pretty much every stock market in the world fell at the beginning of April. But we have Bitcoin.
Oh, damn it. This happens every time. I've been thinking for weeks I want to put money in Bitcoin. Has it done well? What's happened?
It's done well. Yeah, it's up about 23%.
Damn it.
It's now over $93,000 a.
Oh, I'm annoyed at myself. Why? What's happened? Why has it gone up?
So mainly due to the fact that we've had a good week. This last week is a little part of it, but what we're seeing play out with Bitcoin is really interesting because it is kind of acting in a bit the same way as gold right now.
I really miss our Bitcoin chats. I love talking about Bitcoin. I find it so interesting. Yeah. And it's been so off the radar for ages. I'm kind of excited to see it making a comeback. So do you think the reason that it's being somewhat compared to or reacting the same way as gold is because people are thinking of it as more of a tangible thing because there's finite amount?
Well, they're thinking of it as like a digital gold. So people run to gold when shit's hitting the fan and then so much uncertainty and craziness, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know what's going to happen with stock markets and prices and all of that. I just want to hold something safe and secure. And what we're seeing is like the fact that Bitcoin has done so well when a lot of other assets, and by assets I mean, stocks and shares haven't done well, is that there's kind of this, what would you call it, like a decoupling? Because what Bitcoin used to do was kind of act in the same way as like tech stocks, for example. So when tech stocks would do well, Bitcoin would do even more well. When tech stocks didn't do well, Bitcoin would do even less well. Whereas now we're kind of seeing it break away. And
worse and better are the words you're looking for there, by the way.
What did I say?
Less well and more well. Sorry, you are on a roll. It's a conscious uncoupling. So we have we have essentially a digital gold on our hands, which is like it's moving in different ways to the stock market because it feels like a safe alternative when the stock market's turning to shit, just like gold sort of used to be or it still is.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, exactly what I was trying to say when I was saying less well and more well. Yes. That's exactly what's playing out. And so if that's the case, then this is exactly kind of why Bitcoin was set up. To be that kind of store of value and be that kind of consistent asset, whereas it kind of just got a bit caught up in everything that was going on over the last kind of 10 years. And this is why people almost dismissed it because they were like, well, hang on, you're supposed to be like a very consistent, stable, long-term kind of asset to invest in, and you're moving around like God knows what, and so it's,
Do you think that there's also, like, because Bitcoin, the whole point of cryptocurrencies is like power to the people, do you think that there's a correlation? I know a lot of people who invest in crypto. Nah, that's actually, I was about to say a lot of people who invest in crypto would be Trump supporters, but that's not necessarily true because he's got a coin. But maybe there's something about when the world feels unstable and there's all this uncertainty politically, crypto is kind of like I don't know, maybe it is that sort of like people driven feeling of like it's not being controlled by the powers that be or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Trump can mess with the banks, Trump can mess with the stock market, Trump can mess with this and that and whatever. What he can't mess with is Bitcoin. Nobody can really, because it is owned by everyone. It is controlled by everyone. There's no centralized regulatory body or anything like that. Yes, around the edges in terms of the creation of ETFs, for example, Bitcoin ETFs and all of that, yes, around the edges, but the actual core of cryptocurrency is a decentralized system that essentially nobody has control over because everybody has control over it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. But I want to go back to what you said before. You're like, I haven't heard anything about Bitcoin. And that's because it's like it's like a human psychology. You only talk about things that are doing well. You know what I mean? It's like nobody was talking about Bitcoin because it wasn't doing well.
Well, we need to start doing that because then we can start investing when things are doing shit.
True. Yeah.
Because what do? We buy at the dip.
We buy at the dip. Be greedy when everyone is fearful. And actually, while we're on the topic of this power to the people kind of decentralization, I think there is one bank in particular, Revolut. Do you use Revolut?
I love Revolut.
Yeah, they're great.
It's so good. Well, we use it because it's huge in the UK and in Europe.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone has a Revolut. And it's kind of the same thing that's going on. Like we've had these big archaic banks with like very little innovation and, like the apps are shit, like all of that kind of stuff. It costs so much to transfer money internationally. Like they've just kind of been resting on their laurels for a long, long time. Now we've got all these new banks, these neobanks popping up where it's like, hey, we've built a bank from scratch.
It's tech first as well.
Yeah, it's like, and Revolut's absolutely killing it. Like their revenue was up 70% last year. Their customers grew by 40%. They've now got over 50 million customers. They've just launched in New Zealand.
Yeah. They're in New Zealand.
Yeah. So they're bigger than HSBC, which is Hong Kong Singapore Banking Corp, which is
wow, that's huge.
A bank that's been around forever. And they're targeting 100 million customers, and they're launching new products. Like it's I think.
And do you think is this tied in a way to what we're seeing with Bitcoin? Like, do you think that there's?
Yeah, I think it's more. It's also a function of. I think the payments landscape is changing so quickly and so rapidly, like things like cryptocurrencies, for example, but also just like the way we bank. And I think for a lot of established traditional banks, there hasn't been this advancement in a short space of time, ever. So they could just rest on the fact that, I joined the bank when I was 5 and I stayed there. But now with technology, people can compare mortgage rates. People can compare term deposit rates. People can, get a really good app experience, be able to transfer money for cheap at this bank. Like people are just becoming a lot more.
Do you think there's ever a world
conscious.
in which traditional banks won't exist?
I do.
Wow.
I genuinely do. Like we have seen, and I know it's a tiny thing, but like going into the bank and seeing a bank teller and getting cash out, like even ATMs, like ATMs have kind of, are disappearing pretty fast as well. And I think with banks like this popping up and being kind of innovation first, they're just going to keep eating away at these traditional banks and getting more market share. And these traditional banks have huge costs, like having a high street bank location, paying staff, like all of that. If you're not tech first, you're just not going to succeed. Yeah.
So in the weekend, a friend was talking about, this is so cute. It wasn't a friend. I was at dinner with my grandma and her friends, and she was so sweet. This is one of my grandma's friends. Anyway, we were talking about how they never used to go out for restaurants. There wasn't even restaurants. They didn't even really exist. Like there weren't restaurants. And I was like, hold on a second. This is maybe like 40, 50 years ago. It's not that long ago, but the idea of there not being restaurants that exist was so foreign to me. Because that's my life. That's what I've always experienced. Sorry, that makes me sound so privileged. I don't mean I always go to restaurants. I mean, I can't imagine society without that because that's all I remember. So whilst the idea of banks not being a thing anymore sounds bizarre, it's you like at the tiny blip that feels like our reality and what it's not always been like that. And even just the concept, I was thinking about this with AI as well. Like it's not often that I have much of my day without a screen, like honestly, it's so outrageous. And I don't mean this in a like, look up, stop using Instagram. I just mean if we rewound 30 years ago. The idea of even saying that to somebody would sound like completely out of this world ridiculous because no one even had a screen. So whilst that maybe sounds at first when you said, yeah, I think I could imagine a world without normal banks, I was like, no. But actually, it could be a thing. It could just all be digital.
Yeah. 100%.
We could be using crypto for all of our trading. Maybe there won't even be centralized banks at all and we'll just have a global currency.
Yeah.
And it's all crypto or like Bitcoin.
And we'll come back to this podcast in 10 years and we'll be
and
like,
they'll be like, those geniuses, those girls that predicted the future.
And I've got two more quick things.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's Easter and I've been eating a lot of chocolate.
Have you?
Yes, I love Easter.
It's just fun to feel like you can not be an adult for a day and have chocolate for breakfast.
I literally had chocolate for breakfast yesterday.
Same.
And
a cookies and cream egg.
And I'm not ashamed about it. It's Easter.
Yeah. I'm 33 and I'll eat chocolate as the first thing I have today.
Yeah. But speaking of chocolate, the price of chocolate has absolutely skyrocketed, and this is all due to climate change. So in West Africa, where majority of cocoa is produced, the price of cocoa has gone up 300% since 2 years ago. So obviously cocoa is in chocolate, and so that just means a lot of our chocolate treats are getting more and more expensive, unfortunately.
I have noticed that, but I thought maybe it was more inflation than like a commodity itself getting more expensive. Probably a combination.
Yeah, combination of both. And then just seeing on some positive news, petrol prices, because of this trade war, are falling because there is obviously oil production, and oil's the main ingredient in petrol, oil production for a certain level of global growth. Now that's come down, there's less demand, but the supply is still really, really massive. So that means lower prices. So winning in one aspect.
Is this good for, I mean, it's good for our pockets, but is this also good for like the clean energy space as a, no, okay.
It's more like the reason that petrol prices will be coming down is because the world is growing at a slower pace, which is not the best reason, but it's like we saw during COVID when there was no cars on the road, no flights, big consumers of petrol didn't need it. There was a real fall in petrol prices because there was a lot of supply still in the world, but not people demanding it. So,
but where's the demand? Where's the demand dropped?
Yes, so the demand, because global growth is slowing, which means there's less activity, less businesses doing business, they're not growing as fast, they're not needing as much petrol to, maybe using trucks and airlines around the world, because it's now got more expensive to transport stuff around the world. That has impacted the demand for petrol.
But can I just say, if we were to use COVID as an example and flights, and they didn't happen for ages, so demand was really low. And then when we opened up again and there were flights, they were outrageously expensive, even though there weren't that many people getting on them.
Yeah.
So why does it work in the opposite way for that?
That was more not petrol related. That was more the bringing on the capacity in airlines. So that was more around the fact that they'd have fewer flights because they'd had to park their planes for so long.
Oh, so the demand's actually higher because there's fewer of them and therefore they can price it higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's more people that everyone's like, yay, we can fly again. Oh, damn, there's only one aircraft or one flight to Bali, and there's 10 times the people that want to go now. So that's a bit different. But positive for anyone driving a petrol car.
Yeah. Okay. Positive.
If you have a Tesla, not so positive.
I'm driving a stunning Lexus at the moment.
Nice.
We're going to be doing a partnership with Lexus, and I get to drive this really gorgeous, honestly, it's like, it's kind of ruined me. No, I know you're in the UK. Sorry, you're not allowed to drive it.
They have Lexuses in the UK.
Yeah, but as if you're going to be driving in the UK. Actually, you totally would. Next thing you know, it's like every ad on the podcast is Lexus because Vic just wants to drive a car. No, I think it's because it's a hybrid. So it's just like such a dream to drive. Honestly, I was like, this has just ruined me because now I can't go back You know, I really was like, that's the only negative here is that and honestly, I also had never, no, I'm being serious. I've never noticed, you know, when you have the like Uber pull up and they're all
of the Toyota Prius.
And they're always,
That was a spot on sound, by the way. That could not have been better. If you just dialed in and heard that sound, you would know exactly what she was talking about.
But I never got the hybrid thing because I was always like, oh, surely you just go full electric. It's so good. So if you drive a hybrid, sorry if this is common knowledge and you already know this, but I didn't. It charges itself as you drive and then just uses less petrol. So it's just a cheap option.
Yeah.
And feels like you're gliding. I'm like, I get it. I get all the Ubers. It's not your Uber, it's me in my Lexus.
It's me and my Lexus. She just jumps on Uber, just making some extra cash.
Oh my gosh, great idea.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you did hate it, please, don't leave one if you hate it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Nice. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.
No, actually though, new episodes out every Tuesday. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.